But first, as mentioned, our guest, Buzz Jacobs, Benghazi9-11.com, Benghazi 9/11 co-director. Buzz, welcome.
Hey, Crane. It's great to be with you. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Let's begin. Here's Fox News last night highlighting just a few of the story points in history regarding what we have learned about Ben Rhodes, the White House, now learning through emails that the White House directed Susan Rice specifically to highlight the YouTube video and blame the attack on an inspired YouTube video that inspired protests, quote unquote, in Benghazi when they knew differently. Roll it.
An email from Ben Rhodes, an assistant to the president and deputy national security advisor for strategic communications. With the subject line, "Prep Call with Susan," Rhodes writes to a dozen members of the administration's inner circle, including key players on the White House communications team, such as spokesman Jay Carney, that one of the goals is, quote, to underscore that these protests are rooted in an internet video and not a broader failure of policy. The president of Judicial Watch said the documents read like a PR strategy, not an effort to provide the best available intelligence to the American people.
The goal of the White House was to do one thing primarily, which was to make the president look good, blame it on the video, and not on the president's policies.
The Rhodes email is significant because it was not part of the 100 pages of emails released last May by the administration. And in recent congressional testimony, the former CIA deputy director said it was Rice, not the agency, that linked the video to Benghazi.
When she talked about the video, my reaction was that's not something that the analysts have attributed this attack
to. In fact, Thomas Jocelyn said they knew it was from a terrorist attack from the get-go, and that was in an April 2nd column that you wrote for the Weekly Standard. Buzz Jacobs, your thoughts on the revelations today?
Well, I think is that the talking points directed Susan Rice and other speakers to just simply lie because they said that the currently available information suggested that the demonstrations were the cause of the attack. And we have testimony that has contradicted that because in May 2013, and testimony that was released to the public in January of 2014, General Ham, the head of AFRICOM, said in testimony that, quote, we very quickly got to the point that this was not a demonstration, this was a terrorist attack. Again, quote, General Ham, the head of AFRICOM, the lead military commander for that region of the world, we very quickly got to the point that this was not a demonstration, this was a terrorist attack. So if the head commander of the military in that part of the world quickly concluded that it was a terrorist attack, it's evident that he told his senior leadership because in his testimony he said he happened to be in Washington at the time. He went in to meet with General Dempsey, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. They went to meet with Secretary Panetta, the Secretary of Defense, and then they went over to the White House to brief the president. And, you know, I would wonder if Ben Rhodes was even in the room. He may have been. And Ben Rhodes, who's a political communicator, he was Obama's chief speechwriter since 2007. This is as a man who owed his entire professional, successful career to Barack Obama. So he had everything to lose by making sure the president, he had everything to lose by not spinning Benghazi for what it was and making sure that the American people didn't know the truth about Benghazi. And this is totally outrageous. And I know you're going to get into this, Crane, but I am sick and tired, as I'm sure you are and others are, of watching Jay Carney just spew lies about Benghazi from the podium of the White House. It is time for people to call for that man's resignation. It's pathetic and shameful.
Well, yes, agreed on all fronts. Question, could Ben Rhodes have done this without the direction of President Obama?
He could have, but it's implicit. He doesn't need the explicit direction of the president to do this. He knows what his job is. I was looking on Wikipedia a little earlier about Ben Rhodes, and there was a quote about him saying that his job was essentially to represent the best parts of the president at all times, and to represent the president's views at all times, and to do what the president wants. It was something along those lines. I'm not getting it exactly right. I wish I had it in front of me. But the point being is this. He didn't need the president's explicit direction to create a set of lies to feed the American people. His job was to, at all costs, ensure Barack Obama got reelected. Because, again, he personally was dependent upon his job depended upon Barack Obama's reelection. All the big donors, all the big supporters, everybody were dependent upon Barack Obama's reelection for their personal gain, and it gave them every reason. It's total motive for a cover-up. It was total motive, and here we have an email that's leaked to us so long after the attack that was hidden from Congress when they requested the oversight.
Redacted.
The only reason we're seeing it today is because a federal judge demanded that it be released, ordered the State Department to release it. If we didn't have that order, if we didn't have Judicial Watch suing the federal government, suing the State Department for this information, we would not have it. We still wouldn't have it. And I just wonder, what haven't we seen yet? What is still hidden? What will we never see for 20 or 30 or 40 years until the White House documents are released, when Barack Obama is long gone and there's no chance to hold anybody accountable? We need a select committee. And we need to keep pressuring.
Well, the pressure comes from awareness, and a couple ways to do that. Obviously, one way, click on the link to the movie so that this movie moves forward. From what I gather, it is important for us to understand this, because as we've been following this and as you've been following this, this has not been about a political idea here. It's been about honoring those who have sacrificed the greatest for the truth and to get the truth out. Gregory Hicks testified, as we've talked about, and you cited the fact that last words of Chris Stevens were, "We're under attack." And my question to you now goes to Hillary Clinton. What difference does it make? And our president sitting before the caskets, standing before the families, telling the families that they're going to go after the YouTube video and the maker of the YouTube video. They knew differently. So who came up with the specific idea of the YouTube video? Greg Gutfeld, I would accredit to asking that question, because he's been one of the people consistently asking. But my question is, who came up with the video? And does this prove that Hillary Clinton, along with President Obama, both knowingly misled the American people when it came to blaming the YouTube video and putting Susan Rice in that position?
I think there's a very good chance of that. You know, do you remember the old line Bill Clinton used to have in their White House when they would attack Republicans about the politics of personal destruction, when they would talk about his Lewinsky affair?
Yes.
Well, maybe we ought to call this the politics of personal promotion, because it's all about them and it's all about promoting their careers. It's about re-electing Barack Obama. It was about positioning Hillary Clinton to be president, and then, you know, this is her only blemish, kind of, of her only blemish as Secretary of State. This is the one thing that makes her, that overrides everything else she did or didn't do as Secretary of State. This is the one blemish that people will focus on, that people know, that polls show that will impact her presidential ambitions. And they had every reason to lie about it, every reason, every motive to lie about it. And do I think that? I think it's very plausible, and I just feel like there's got to be some evidence out there somewhere that proves the president. You know, remember, the president has a classified iPhone or similar device, BlackBerry or whatever he carries around, that they made especially for him, and only a few people have it. I guarantee you he was copied on some traffic. And will we ever see that? You know, probably not anytime soon, but maybe in the future, well down the road, history will reveal the truth, unless we have some brave soul within the administration who's willing to leak that information to the press. But as long as the mainstream media does not pressure the president, and they haven't, they have been so weak and so lame and so bad and so pathetic about not pressuring the president from the day this started, and about not pressuring the White House for information, that we've gotten to this point. And you know, if they don't grab a hold of this right now, this undeniable, indisputable evidence of a cover-up, then, you know, they're failing us as well as Clinton. You know, I know I've strayed a little bit from your question, but
no, this is important, because
upsetting to everybody.
it is upsetting, and I've talked to people recently, not only about this issue, and what they're upset about is they feel they're alone. They don't feel like anybody else is upset or outraged. And I know people, you are listening right now for a reason, and you do share the outrage, because 4 Americans were murdered, And we had, quote, the administration's goal was to, quote, underscore that these protests are rooted in an internet video and not a broader failure of policy. They went with politics over the truth, and therefore, in my estimation, and everybody else's, anybody with an ounce of common sense is going to say that's dishonorable in many respects, but it's also, they told the families, Patricia Smith, on the day, Sean Smith's mother, on the day of the service, this is coming from us from townhall.com and Guy Benson covering this, but the question was to her, did Hillary say anything to you? Did the president say, Obama, did they say anything to you on that day? Oh, yes. They all told me about the reason this happened was the video. Every one of them told me that. That's the same day that email, and that was sent to Susan Rice from Ben Rhodes. So I got to tell you something. This is arguably, I would say this is the smoking gun. But you think there is more out there. How do we get that? How do we get
I do think there's
the rest
more
of it?
out there. I think there's more out there. I know Benghazi is not going to go away. I know that the 4 people who are on the ground who are writing a book that's going to be released sometime in the coming weeks ahead are going to confirm things that we've heard. They're going to reveal new information. This story is not going away, and the truth is never going to go away. You know, I can't pull the exact line, but I know that the Bible says the truth will be revealed in the end, and the exact chapter and verse, and the truth will be revealed about Benghazi. I have no doubt about it. And I think the way we keep doing that is we've got to educate people. We've got to keep them. This is a complicated issue in the sense that the reason why it's not complicated, and we know that there was a cover-up. It's complicated in putting all the pieces together because the administration has purposefully, as proven by this latest email release, misled the American people for months on end. Mm-hmm. And the American people have got to have. We've got. That's why I believe our film project is so important. We got to explain this to them in the 90 minutes entertaining way that they like to have things explained to them, and help them understand so that they can share the outrage of the people who have been so closely following this minute by minute, day by day as things are revealed.
Benghazi9-11.com, or go to the Facebook page of Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth, American Family Radio, Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth, and link up. We are going to be talking to Buzz over the weeks and as we continue to pursue this story, and we'll come back to it a little later on this hour. Buzz, thank you. Great to be with you.
You too, Crane. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth, AFR Talk.